Something that I heard from another client was that it really looks like other design tools as well. So with the comparison functionality, with the scenario functionality, you can compare multiple products or make a scenario.
Thank you all for joining our Open Mobius demo. We would like to welcome you. My name is Bas Louwers. I'm account executive at Ecochain. I will be giving the open demo today, and I brought two colleagues of mine, Zaas Laquist on the other side, who's going to look at your questions, and after the demo, ask them to my colleague, who's
Eva. Hi, my name is Eva Leferink, and I'm an environmental specialist at Ecochain, and I help clients with calculating their environmental footprint in Mobius.
Yes, perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a demo, short introduction of Ecochain. My colleague Eva is going to slide away. I'm going to give the demo now, and afterwards she will come back in the screen for the questions. What are we going to talk about today? I'm going to introduce you to Ecochain very shortly, about what we do, where we at, how many people we're working with, and what we exactly do. Afterwards, I will show you how the Mobius software works, our LCA software, and afterwards the Q&A. We're going to start with Ecochain. Who is Ecochain exactly? We are an Amsterdam, Netherlands-based company. We empower sustainable impact through two software tools that we have. We're going to focus on Mobius today, but very shortly about Helix. Helix is software that allows you to measure multiple LCA reports at the same time for a whole production location. That is a totally different tool that we're going to show you today, because Mobius is focusing on one product at a time. And I will show you that in just a second. So what is Mobius? Mobius is our easy to use, easy, quick, and credible LCA software that we have, where you can make LCA reports on your products that you produce, or you don't produce it, but you do have them and you have the data and you need LCA reports. You can make them with our software tool, and we're going to show you that afterwards, of course. But it is also called an eco design tool, because besides making LCA reports, you can also make designs on how you can improve your products, use different materials on either is the material better or worse for the product, or a new process, maybe even another supplier. What does it eventually do for the environmental impact? We're going to go into the tool in a second, but for now, why do you need an LCA report? And what is an LCA report? An LCA report is a lifecycle assessment. It basically shows you what the environmental impact of your product is. You can do that in three ways. You can do it either cradle to cradle, cradle to end of life, or cradle to grave. That is all possible within our software tool, and it has all kind of impact categories. Within the tool, if you make an LCA report, you can choose which impact category you want to use. Most of all, people will use CO2 score, but you can also use all the other ones on the right side of the screen. It is either your choice or your client's choice, which one you want to use, but it is all possible through our tool. Why do you need an LCA report? Well, we probably see four main reasons why you use an LCA report. The first one is internal decisions. Maybe the board wants to see what the impact of the products is, or you want to make internal decisions on new materials to improve your environmental impact as a company. The second one is you want to make environmental claims. So as you can see on the second picture, people want to show on their products what the environmental impact of their product is. If we all do it, you can compare it. The third one is to make an EPD, Environment Product Declaration. You want to show it to maybe a supplier of yourself, or you want to show it on your website. It's either a possibility to do so without showing all the security stuff that you don't want to show there. And the last one is marketing. So do you want to use it on your website, for instance? What do you exactly want to show to your customers if they purchase your products? A lot of people in the clothing industry already show their CO2 score, for instance, on the website if someone's buying a t-shirt. Is that something you also want to do with your products? That is up to you, and it is possible through our LCA software. We have a free trial. Please be aware of that. On our website, you can find the Mobius tool and the free trial, which has 14 days. Within the free trial, you can go to the help center, which shows you a lot of videos on how you can get started yourself on your first models that you want to make within the free trial. It helps you a lot. So please be aware that you can use free trial. For now, we're going to go into the software tool itself. So welcome, guys. This is the Mobius software tool that we have. Please be aware that the help center is over here. If you start a free trial, just click on it and you can find all the videos that you want to see. We're going to start with the Open Mobius demo. So today I will be showing you a hairdryer. It is something that we modeled ourselves. So it's not the actual product, but it does give you an idea on how you can make your own product, basically. So the software tool has three main functionalities, which are go to products, go to Lifecycle, and go to objects. For today, we're going to start with the go to products, because what we do here is we calculate what the impact of the production phase is of your single product. In this case, it's a hairdryer. What we do with the software tool is you basically make building blocks, as we call it. This hairdryer has multiple building blocks, as the air fan, the electricity, electronics, the heater, the housing, the motor, and the power core. That is something you probably also have with your products. I'm not sure, of course, what kind of products you have, but eventually you have the bill of materials, something you need to figure out yourself, unfortunately, because we do not know that information. But if you have that, you can import that in this software tool and link it to an environmental database to eventually get the impacts. So for instance, we have a material here. What you can do is you can go to our database. Sorry, I need to click on this one. We are into our database where you can find references to your environmental material, for instance. We have multiple, but the most important one is our Ecochain database. What you eventually can do is very important. You can search for your material. A very recent one that I looked up was, for instance, cotton. Doesn't really have something with a hairdryer, but it does show you that we have, for instance, cotton, and you can find it quickly. Even what you can do is you can specify it to a certain country. So for instance, you purchase cotton out of China, you can eventually find references to it and see whether it's fitting to your situation or not. You can find more information here, what eventually happened to the material, but it gives you at least an idea on what you can search for. I do want to tell you that I would advise you to start a free trial and see whether your raw materials and the processing, etc., are in the database. If some of them are missing, that's not a problem, but please be aware that you can find out if the materials are in there. Besides searching in our database, you can also look for, but if you have an LCA report on your material, you can also make a custom impact and add that. So if you have primary data, which you of course encourage, you can import that in this tool. But probably going to be hard, but it is a possibility. Well, eventually you get a CO2 score if you add all the materials to a certain reference. In this case, we have a CO2 score. But what you also can do is you can change it to every environmental impact that you're looking for or your client is asking for. That is also a possibility. In this case, we did CO2, but you can also use land usage. Well, you can pretty much see them all also in the free trial, but 90% of our clients probably use CO2. Now up to why we are called an eco-design tool. We have the possibility to make scenarios and comparisons. We're going to start with the scenario because what we basically do is we place the same product next to each other. As you can see on the bottom, I'm going to make it a little shorter. Make it more interesting for you guys to see. As you can see on the bottom, it has the same CO2 score. And what you now can do in this situation is you can change certain materials that you have on the right side and compare it to the left product to see if you can improve your product. For instance, an example would be if you have your own production facility. What if you change from a normal electricity supplier to a green electricity supplier? What does it do for the environmental impact of your products? You can also do that with materials, from normal materials to recycled materials. What does it do for the impact of the product. So that's why it's an eco design tool. Eventually, that's too soon. You can also make comparisons, and we have made a eco hair dryer to make a comparison with. And as you can see on the bottom, if I click it, as you can see on the bottom, that what you can see is that the eco hair dryer has a better impact for the environment than the normal hair dryer. That's because we changed some materials and some suppliers. And eventually you can see that what the difference is when you make it a flat view. As we can see here, the nylon has a bit less impact, than with normal hair dryer. And that's a reason, for example, why it's a better impact than the normal hair dryer. You can also see it in sunbursts, but eventually you can also make your own graphs if you export the results in Excel. This was the first functionality, the production phase. Now we're going to go through to the go to lifecycle phase, because what we do here is we do not only include the production phase, but all the lifecycle stages of an LCA report, which are, for instance, packaging, transports, the use phase, and the end of life phase. It is important to add that all this information is something you need to figure out, but eventually you can make the LCA report yourself. That is what Mobius is meant for. We train you how you can do it yourself, and it is an easy and quick way to do so. You can also delete certain stages. So you can also delete production, the packaging, the transport, and the use phase, and just focus on the end of life phase. So what if we throw the product away or we recycle the products? What does it mean for that certain life cycle stage, for what the impact is, and what can we change to improve it? Also here, you can set scenarios. What we also did with the hair dryer, you eventually can see what the difference is. As you can see, eventually you can also change, for instance, the supplier and see what the difference is in transportation way. Let's say you have a supplier in China. What if you change it to an Italian one? What does it do for the impact for the product? Because the transport may be less in that sense than your previous supplier, and then see the differences. So very important to know that is a possibility. Also here, you can change the environmental impact category. Then we go to the last functionality that we have, and in my opinion, pretty important one, which is the go to object library. What you basically do here is you save the raw materials and the processes that you already modeled within the software tool. So if you use or make a new product which has the same materials or processes as a previous product that you made, you can copy paste the material already in the new products, which makes your life very much easier than it was if it's not there, because you can basically copy paste it in the new products. This is a very, it is a fast view of the Mobius software. It does give you a very good idea on what you can do with it. I see that we already have some questions in the Q&A, but you also were able to ask some questions beforehand. Zasla, are you able to ask them for us?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I've been looking at your questions. And yes, a lot of great questions came in. And indeed, we also already got some questions up front. So we're going to try to see if we can answer all of them. I know everybody also wants to have a lunch break. So let's start. So the first question I got, that's about the bill of materials. Of course, you showed, you can add all the individual materials. Can you also import a standard bill of materials file? So a CSV file.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Eva to join us for this question.
Yes, we can also upload and import a CSV file. I will go in the Mobius tool to products. You have the products lifecycle and object library here as well. And here you see the import button. And this button says bulk import products and inventories. And we also have a download example because it is a specific CSV file that you need to import. So you fill in this Excel file you get into a CSV file, and this is what you can import. And this also makes it very easy to import bulk products and bulk bill of materials so that you can handle a lot of products at the same time. What I also sometimes do with clients is first model the first product in the tool, and then later onwards start using the import file, because then you have your first product ready, set in stone. You can also export it to see what does that CSV file look like, and then start building from that file and make somewhat of a copy to import your bill of materials.
Amazing. Well, I think that was a very clear answer. Oh, this is also an interesting one. Of course, you can use LCA for different purposes. Bas already said in the beginning, people also use it to make claims. This person has a question about the Dutch score, the environmental cost indicator. Can you also get the environmental cost indicator as an output out of Mobius?
Yes, definitely. You can put Mobius on different settings. So when we go to the settings, we go to workspace settings. And here you see that the SPK bepalingsmethode, that is the settings that you want for the environmental cost indicator, the API. So when you put it on the bepalingsmethode, and you can change the settings here and put it on a single score. Yes, the MPA total, put it on a single score. And when I will save this, then you will see the environmental cost indicator, because the environmental cost indicator is a single score for the building environment, the construction in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And I will take this. I will go to the brush, for example. And then you will see here that instead of the global warming potential, it will show everything in euros. So it needs to think a little bit, but then eventually you can see your products in euros.
Amazing. Yeah, actually, that's a really nice bridge to the next question, because what kind of impact methods do we have? Because you see here the impact method sets. What do we offer exactly in Mobius?
Yeah, we have the EN 15804 method. This is European construction methods, the environmental footprint method, an open LCA method in which you have a lot of different methods again, and SPK bepalingsmethode. So we have different settings in which we can calculate your environmental footprint.
Yes. All right. Amazing. Okay. So then the next question actually is about the databases. So which databases do we offer? Because Bas already showed EcoInvent, of course, when he showed the impact references. What else do we offer in Mobius?
Yeah, I will open the database. So we go here with a little pencil. You can click on, for example, electricity. This is the lowest layer that there is. Click on the pencil, and here you will open the databases. And we have 3 of them. So you have the database search, in which the database really is, elementary flows, and custom impact, in which you can custom your impact from something else, from data of your supplier, for example. And when we really specifically go into the databases, you can select the database here that you want. So we have multiple variants of Ecochain, of which 3.8 is the latest. We have the Green Delta, the Nationale Milieudatabase, of which 3.5 is the latest. And this is the one that we use with the MPI, with the ECI as well. And we have the product environmental footprint. Most often we use Ecochain. Ecochain is a database that is made in Switzerland. It's a non-profit organization with a lot of data points, and all based on scientific research.
Yes, exactly. So in the beginning, this is a really good question. So in the beginning, of course, Bas showed that you can make comparisons, right? Because Mobius is also a tool that you can use to really improve the environmental footprint of your products. This person asks, because Bas also said, you need to figure out a lot of data yourself. In the comparison, what kind of data do you need?
Yeah, so in the comparison, it really depends on what do you want to compare. So, for example, we have the hairdryer here, and we would like to compare it with another hairdryer. Do you have the other hairdryer or the other product? Do you make it yourself? Or do you want a hairdryer that is better for the environment and that is not yet there?
Yeah.
Because then you can use data, for example, from normal electricity mix to the green electricity mix, and that data is already in the tool. So you can really easily change that. So when I will make a scenario, so then I will create my own comparison. I have here the headline copy, and I click here on the electricity because I want to change that one. I will make it green electricity, and thereby I created a different one. And then, for example, I can go and look into the database for the green electricity. I will not do that right now because it takes some time. But then the data is already in here. And when I change this one, it will directly show what it does to your impact. So if you have your future product, you can change something with the eco-event database and you do not really need data for that.
Yeah.
But if you do want to compare your product with your own product, then of course you need your bill of material again and the electricity usages and the transportation that is necessary for this comparison. Global warming again.
Amazing. All right. Super. We had a lot of questions also beforehand, and a lot of them also now in the Q&A are about data. Data is always a big thing in LCA. So what kind of data do you need to gather to be able to, of course, model an LCA within Mobius or any LCA?
Yeah, at first you can start with the data that you have laying around. Do you already have your bill of material of the product? Because this is where you already can start modeling. At first, we always say you do not have to have all your data ready to start. Eventually, you can make your product better and improve it over time.
Yeah.
So what kind of data do you need for a product? For a product, you need the data of your electricity usage, for example, of all the machines, but also the transportation distances from your raw materials to your factory, perhaps, or to where your product is assembled, the bill of material of your products, and also the waste that is there when producing the product. So you can start with whatever you have and then improve during time.
All right. Super. Then the next question is, yes, okay, the output. So of course you've modeled your LCA. You now have a result. Yeah, let's hope for that. So you can either compare it, you can improve it, but a lot of people also want to use it, as said in the beginning, to, of course, show their efforts. So can you maybe show what the output of Mobius looks like? I think that's the first question to start with.
Yeah, of course. So we have different outputs. I think this is the first output that you will see here. What is your product? What is the impact of your product? Another output, of course, is this screen over here. Because here you already see that your power cords and electronics are the main impacts from your hairdryer. To see that in another way, we have the flat view. And here again, you see the PWP and the power cords that are the main impacts. And here you see the percentage of the total product and what did you use for that. And you can also click on this one to see what kind of reference did I use to background reference. And this is also something that you can use with a comparison. Change this one out because this is the main impact. Then we also have the bar chart, and this will show the same, but then in a chart view. And here you see the PWD again. And we have the sunburst. Again, the power cords, the PWE, and the polycarbonate nylon. And these are the views that you can have in Mobius. But what I also can use often is that I can download my product and export my results. Then you see everything that you put in here in Excel. And you can also make graphs of your own, because you can have your marketing team make a pretty graph for you. So there are different ways on which Mobius has outputs.
Yes, exactly. And I also I saw a couple of comments from people who said, yeah, I mean, I want to use this also within my company, which of course we support because as Bas said in the beginning, of course, these results, as you can see here, very clearly visualized. And also the output can be used, of course, by multiple teams within the company to their benefit, sales, products. Yeah, we see that a lot happening with our customers. So this is indeed a very nice and clear overview that you could definitely use for all kinds of internal and external communications. So talking about external communications, again, we're sticking to the output. So can you use Mobius to make an LCA that can be verified?
Yes, definitely. When we make a model, we can also create a report. And when we create a report, we can support you in that, or you can write your own reports. We can get this report verified. So then your Mobius product will be verified by an external auditor. And then eventually, if you're interested in an EPD, you can also get an EPD if you have a verified report. So the first step is building your model and getting all the data ready. Then you can write a report about this model. So what kind of background references did you use? Where does your data come from? Then if it's verified by the auditor, you can also say, I have a verified model, and then perhaps choose if you want to have an EPD. And in that EPD, you should also have more information about your product. What did you exactly do? And have a nice document which you can share with clients.
Exactly. And just because I also saw somebody have a question about an EPD. So an EPD is an environmental product declaration. Eva, could you quickly elaborate on that? What is an EPD?
Yeah. So in really short, is an EPD a summary of an LCA, of a lifecycle assessment. And in this EPD, you will have environmental data and what kind of method did you use? What is your product? What decisions did you make? But nothing that your competitor cannot see is in there. So this is really something that you can share with your suppliers, but also with your customers and everyone around you, so that they can see what did you do with calculating your LCA.
Amazing. Okay, so this is a question I think is really important. Does the software provide features to keep track of, where you need to work on when it comes to your impact? Where are uncertainties? Where can you find impact hotspots? How does that work within Mobius?
Yeah, so I would say choose the flat view, go to the flat view and see what is the percentage of my impact of the product. And I would say start at the top because there's your highest impact, and then go down to see what is my lowest impact and what are the easy things to change. Yeah. So for example, can you change this one? If you know something that you can change it up with, you can again go to the comparison and see what happens if I change this before you really make a decision based on, nothing. So if you do this in Mobius and model it beforehand, you can make a comparison, see what happens before you really change your products. Mm-hmm. So I would definitely say, go to the percentage and see here, what is your main impact? And also in the tree view, it's nicely visualized.
All right. Okay. So more questions about data. So basically, how much data would you need to be able to start performing your LCA? We already discussed, what kind of data you need, but of course we have these databases that we use in here. So what do you need to just start?
Yeah, I would say the bare minimum is your bill of materials. So if you have your bill of material, and that means your product, what are the main materials of your product, and what do those products consist out of? Yep. What is the weight of this product in kilograms? And if you have that ready, you can start implementing it. And then later on also see where are the gaps, where can I improve, where can I get more data from? So start with your bill of materials and then look further for what can I all include. Maybe you want to include a use phase, more transportation, packaging, the end of life, but first start with your bill of material.
All right. So, of course, with every LCA, there come uncertainties, which is usually, of course, after you perform an LCA, you also look at, hey, where can I improve? How does Mobius handle uncertainties, perhaps in an LCA?
Yeah. So what I always tell my clients is that they should definitely write down their assumptions, because in the end, you're going to make some assumptions if you have a data gap. And Mobius can handle these data gaps by inserting the general data points. So if you, for example, do not know what the heater consists out of exactly, you can also choose a more general data point of a heater. And if you really do not know what the heater is, we also have a general data point of basic electronics.
Yeah.
These data points are always worst case. So that means that you always get a higher impact if you do not know exactly what it is, because otherwise you will get a lower impact while not knowing exactly what you are modeling. So always write down your assumptions and be transparent in your assumptions as well, because then later on you can communicate that in a good way to everyone that reads your LCA or sees your data.
Yeah. Okay. So, we have about 5 minutes. So I'm just going to see if I can ask 2 more questions. Again, the whole data. I'm sorry, we keep coming back to it. Of course, we have the database, and a couple of people have asked, hey, I might not have all the primary data. Just for everybody, primary data is are raw emissions from, of course, your manufacturing sites. They're very, very accurate. What do you do if you start out with secondary data, which is, of course, these scientific pre-researched average databases that we use? Like, how does that process look like if I want to make my LCA more accurate?
Yeah, so first start with your secondary data then, and then see what is your main impact. So where is this chart the highest? Because that is your main impact. And I always recommend to start there with asking your suppliers for primary data, because that's also where your biggest win is, of course.
Yeah.
And if you ask your supplier for primary data, perhaps they do not have it yet, but if you start asking, the movement, the ball will roll. So eventually in a couple of years, hopefully they do have that data then, and they can provide you with the right primary data, and you can update your model with this primary data.
Yeah.
Let's start with secondary, and then after that, ask everyone, all your suppliers for the primary data, and update your model whenever you have more information.
Yes. Okay, so then there's a question about the use phase. As we showed in the beginning, of course, a product has a life cycle. And in the beginning, when you make an LCA, you can choose, of course, which model you want to do, how many life cycle stages you want to include. This person would also like to model the use phase of a couple of, of a product that they make. How do you do that? Like, where do you start?
Yeah, really depending on the product is how you model your use phase. So your use phase is sometimes available and sometimes it's not. Do you have the data of your use phase? So for the hairdryer, for example, if this is your product, do you know how often the hairdryer is used? Or do you need to make an assumption for that? Because that's, of course, possible. Sometimes we also find data on the internet. So for a t-shirt, for example, there's general data about how often someone washes their t-shirt and how hot the water is of your washing machine and how much soap there is. And in this case, we have the use phase of the hairdryer, and we have 100 hours of hairdressing. So then you know the kilowatt hours of your hairdryer, the kilowatts, and you know the hours, and then you can multiply that to get the electricity, your use phase of your hairdryer. And the electricity, this is what the use phase data point is in there. So the only thing that you then need to know is what is your use phase. You can gather data about that if there's data, and otherwise try to make the best assumptions and write them down, of course, so that you can eventually also be transparent about what did you make for the assumptions.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, clear. Looking at the time. Okay, 2 more short questions. So, of course, we say, you measure your footprint, and then, of course, the best option after that is that you start improving. But what if you're a company that has, a material that isn't in any of these databases? What do you do? Because, of course, you want to know the impact of that product. So how does that work, or that material?
Yeah, we can do multiple things. You can search for an LCA on Google, for example. Was there already an LCA made of your product? Because this is something that we sometimes can use with the custom impact if we have data about this. The other thing what we can also do is the references that are in our database, we can modify them.
Yeah.
This is a bit more work though, but we can definitely do that. So if you have a lot of information about your product that isn't in there, we can modify this reference to your needs and adjust it so that it is the right data point. And we can put it in Mobius so that eventually you can use that later.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing. So you can also use it indeed in comparisons or any other improvement that you're going to make. All right. Then down to the last question. Okay. This person is a product designer and they're just asking if this is a good tool to improve products. Well, Eva.
Yeah, it is a product design tool. So be a big yes for this one. And something that I heard from another client was that it really looks like other design tools as well. So with the comparison functionality, with the scenario functionality, you can, compare multiple products or make a scenario. So this is a big yes.
A big yes. Yeah, that's what we like. All right. Don't forget to sign up for the free trial. Everything that Bas and Eva just showed you, you can experience it yourself. You don't have to put in any payment details. You can just go crazy. I mean, the floor back to Bas, if he can roll back in.
Please. I will let Bas in there again.
Yes, there he comes.
Yes. Thanks, Eva, for answering the question. So last 2 comments from my side. Please be aware, of course, of the free trial. It's on our website. Just try it out and see what kind of questions you have. If you have questions during the free trial, you can also click on talk to an expert. We can answer your questions if you have some. So really thank you for your time. Thank you, Saas and Eva, as well, for assisting me, and have a great day. And we speak soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.